Amaka, Olumide whispered, stepping closer, I cannot let you go through with this marriage. We were meant to be together. Tears welled in her eyes as she shook her head. Olumide, if I break the treaty, both our kingdoms will be doomed. Thousands will die. I cannot live with that blood on my hands. I must marry King Tamba. Once upon a time, in the heart of the vast and prosperous kingdom of Udo, there lived a princess known for her radiant beauty, grace, and spirit. Her name was Amaka. The sun seemed to rise and set in her eyes, and her smile brought warmth to the hearts of her people. But beneath her glowing exterior lay a heart divided, a heart that held a secret love for a prince she could never marry. Amaka's world had been shaped by her childhood friendship with Prince Olumide, the brave and noble heir to the kingdom of Idera, the neighboring realm. They grew up side by side, sharing laughter, dreams, and adventures in the forests and meadows between their kingdoms. Over the years, their bond had blossomed into something deeper, a love so pure and powerful that neither of them could deny it. But fate, as it often does, had a cruel twist in store. Udo and Idera, though rich in culture and tradition, had been enemies for as long as anyone could remember. A river of blood and hatred ran between them, and war had ravaged both kingdoms for generations. Entire villages had been lost, crops had withered in the fields, and families had been torn apart by the endless cycle of violence. Peace was a distant dream until an opportunity presented itself. A third kingdom, ruled by the mighty and fearsome King Tamba, sought to unite the two warring lands. His kingdom, the vast and powerful Zuberi, lay to the south, untouched by war, but known for its formidable army. King Tamba, ruthless yet diplomatic, proposed an alliance that would bring peace to the region through marriage. King Tamba demanded Princess Amaka's hand in marriage. Her union with King Tamba would not only bring peace to her homeland, but it would also protect Idera from further devastation. It was a strategic alliance, the only hope for ending the bloodshed. Amaka was to become a queen, and her marriage to Tamba would seal the long-awaited treaty. However, this was a destiny Amaka never wanted. Her heart belonged to Prince Olumide, her childhood friend, her soulmate, but duty demanded that she marry another. The grand halls of the Udo Palace buzzed with preparations for the royal wedding. Silk banners draped the corridors, while the scent of freshly baked bread and flowers filled the air. Yet, despite the festive atmosphere, Amaka stood on her balcony, gazing out over the horizon with a heart heavy as stone. The moon hung low in the sky, casting a pale glow over the land as if mourning the loss of her future. Her mind raced with 1,000 thoughts. She knew what was expected of her, but her soul screamed for freedom, for love, for Olumide. How could she marry a man she did not love? And yet, how could she abandon her people to a life of war and suffering? She felt trapped, as if the walls of the palace were closing in around her, suffocating her. Just then, a soft knock at the door broke the silence. It was Olumide. He had risked everything to see her, sneaking past guards and soldiers to reach her chambers. His eyes were full of the same sorrow and longing she felt, and when he spoke, his voice trembled with emotion. "Amaka," he whispered, stepping closer, "I cannot let you go through with this. We were meant to be together. There must be another way. You and I, we can run. We can leave this place behind and live a life far from the shadows of war and kings." Amaka's heart ached at his words, for she knew they were true. She had dreamed of such a life countless times, a life where she and Olumide could be free from the burdens of royalty and duty. But deep down, she knew it was a fantasy, one they could never truly have. Tears welled in her eyes as she shook her head. Olumide, if I break the treaty, both our kingdoms will be doomed. Thousands will die. I cannot live with that blood on my hands. I must marry King Tamba. A long silence stretched between them, filled only by the distant sounds of the palace and the rustling of the wind. Olumide's face darkened, and Amaka saw something change in his eyes. A flicker of desperation, a dangerous spark. What if I were to challenge him? Olumide asked suddenly. What if I could prove that I am the rightful one to claim your hand? In the ancient laws of the land, a duel between kings and princes has settled such matters before. Amaka gasped. You cannot. King Tamba is a warrior unlike any other. He would kill you in an instant. But Olumide was undeterred. His jaw clenched and his hands balled into fists at his sides. I would rather die fighting for you than live knowing I let you slip away. Days passed, and the kingdom buzzed with rumors of an impending duel, though none dared speak of it openly. Tamba had accepted Olumide's challenge, and the battle was set to take place in a secret arena far from the eyes of the court. Both men knew the stakes. Whoever won would claim Amaka's hand, and the loser would not leave the field alive. The night before the duel, Amaka found herself once more on the palace balcony, staring at the stars with a heart filled with dread. The weight of guilt pressed heavily on her chest. She had tried to stop them both, but her pleas had fallen on deaf ears. Now her two loves were on a collision course, and she could do nothing to stop it. But then something unexpected happened. In the stillness of the night, a shadow slipped into her chambers. It was a figure cloaked in darkness, yet the moment they spoke, Amaka recognized the voice. It was King Tamba. I know why you're afraid, he said, his voice low but commanding. You think I am a monster, but let me tell you this, Princess Amaka, I did not come here for war. I came here for peace, just as much as you did. But there are forces at play that even you do not understand. Amaka's heart raced. What could he possibly mean? There are those who want this union to fail, Tamba continued, his eyes locking with hers. The very same people who have benefited from this endless war. They want to pit Olumide and me against each other, to shatter the fragile peace we are so close to achieving. Amaka's breath caught in her throat. Could it be true? Were they both pawns in a larger game? Tomorrow's duel is not about love or duty, Tamba said, stepping closer. It is a trap. If either of us dies, the war will continue, and the bloodshed will never end. You must decide, Princess. Will you let your heart guide you, or will you rise as a queen and save us all? As dawn broke, Amaka knew what she had to do. The fate of the kingdoms of her people rested in her hands. She would not stand idly by and let the two men she cared for destroy each other. With newfound resolve, she stepped out of the palace and made her way to the arena where the duel would take place. The arena was silent as Amaka stood before the two kings. Her voice, steady and firm, rang out over the tense silence. This duel will not happen. I will not allow it. Both Olumide and Tamba turned to her, their eyes filled with surprise and confusion. Olumide, she said softly, I love you, but this fight is not the way. King Tamba is right. There are forces that wish to keep our kingdoms at war. If we fight, we play into their hands. She turned to Tamba, her voice strong. And you, King Tamba, you came here for peace. I will not be the reason this fragile hope is shattered. In that moment, Amaka made her final choice, not as a princess, not as a lover, but as a queen. We will find another way, she declared, together. In the end, Princess Amaka did not choose love or duty. She chose to forge a new path, a path of unity, of peace, and of leadership. The forces that sought to manipulate the kingdoms were exposed and cast out, and under her rule, the kingdoms of Udo, Idera, and Zuberi united in a lasting peace. Amaka became the queen who saved her people and the two men she loved. And so her story became legend, a tale of love, sacrifice, and the courage to change destiny. The end. Thanks for listening. Please subscribe, comment, like, and share this video.